Have you ever heard a story so surprising it makes you rethink what's possible? Today, we're sharing one of those stories, a story about Walter, an 83-year-old man who taught himself coding. Yes, coding. Something most people think is only for the young, the tech-savvy, or those born with a keyboard in their hands. But Walter's story is different. It's about courage, curiosity, and the powerful idea that learning never stops no matter your age. In this video, you'll discover how Walter, a retired mechanic with no background in technology, took his very first steps into the digital world. You'll hear about the challenges he faced, frustrations, doubts, and even physical obstacles, and how he overcame them with patience, persistence, and a healthy dose of humor. You'll see how Walter's simple curiosity sparked a journey that changed his life, and how you can find your own why to start learning something new today. Practical steps Walter took to master coding, including the resources he used, the routines he built, and how he adapted learning methods to fit his needs as an older adult. The emotional ups and downs Walter experienced, and why embracing mistakes and failures is actually one of the best ways to grow. The vital role of family and community in Walter's journey, and how seeking support can help you stay motivated. How Walter's success isn't just about coding. It's a lesson in resilience, brain health, and the joy of lifelong learning. By the end of this video, you'll not only be inspired by Walter's determination, but you'll also walk away with clear, actionable ideas to start your own learning adventure. Whether it's coding, painting, playing music, or any new passion waiting for you. Have you ever felt stuck, thinking, I'm too old to try something new? Or wondered if your brain can still learn complex things? Walter's story is proof that it can. So, get ready to be motivated to challenge your assumptions and to consider what could you learn if you gave yourself permission to try. Are you ready to surprise yourself? Stay with us. Because Walter's journey is more than just an inspiring tale, it's a roadmap for all of us to keep growing, no matter our age. Let's dive in. Part 1. Why Walter started coding. At 83, most people are winding down. But for Walter, life was just opening a new window, literally. A window filled with code, logic, and limitless possibility. It all began with a sense of emptiness. After retiring, I felt like something in my mind had gone quiet. Walter says, I missed the puzzles, the calculations, and the challenge. He had spent over 40 years working as a mechanical engineer for the National Railway. Every day was full of structure, systems, and solving mechanical problems. But once retired, he found his days becoming repetitive and slow. I needed something to make me feel alive again, he says. That's when his grandson, Lucas, handed him an old laptop. It had a cracked screen and ran slow. Walter chuckles, but to me it was a spaceship. At first, he didn't even know how to open a browser. But his curiosity was stronger than his fear. Lucas showed him how to Google, and from there, Walter took off. I typed how to create a website, and that was the rabbit hole I fell into. What's amazing is how quickly passion took root. Within a month, Walter was spending 4 to 5 hours a day learning from free platforms like Khan Academy and W3 schools. I loved how every little piece of code had a purpose, he says. Did you ever try learning something totally new after 70? How did it feel? Walter's story isn't unique in motivation, but it's rare in execution. According to studies on geriatric motivation, older adults who pursue learning often do so out of a desire for independence and mental vitality. Walter fit that profile perfectly. He also had something else working in his favor: discipline. When I worked on trains, I followed strict schedules. I brought that habit to coding. He set daily goals. Learn one new function, build one simple app, and solve one error. These small wins kept him going. His first major milestone came when he built a basic calculator app. When it worked, he says, eyes sparkling, I felt like I had just invented something incredible. The joy wasn't in the product, it was in the process. For Walter, coding became a metaphor. You can always fix a bug, he says, even in life. Just keep debugging. So, why did Walter start coding? Not for money, not for fame, but for something far more profound: purpose. His journey reminds us that purpose doesn't retire. It just waits for a new command to run. Part 2. Learning the basics. Walter's self-taught journey. Learning to code is hard at any age, but doing it in your 80s with no prior technology experience? That takes a special kind of determination. Walter began his journey with zero programming background. I didn't know where file path was. He laughs. I thought HTML was a TV channel. But he didn't let ignorance stop him. He approached coding like a language. I learned German and English in my youth. Why not JavaScript now? He started small, learning HTML and CSS to build basic web pages. Free platforms like Free Code Camp and Mozilla Developer Network became his classrooms. He followed structured lessons, rewinding videos when things got confusing. There were days when nothing made sense, Walter admits, but every evening I understood just a little more. One breakthrough moment came when he realized how to center an element on a page using CSS. I felt like a magician, he says. That little square moved because I told it to. Walter created a study routine that worked for his age. He limited screen time to 2-hour blocks to avoid eye strain. He used a large font IDE or Visual Studio Code and made handwritten notes. Writing helps me remember better, he explains. His grandson occasionally helped clarify concepts. We'd talk through logic loops at the dinner table, Lucas recalls. It became our special thing. Did you ever have someone guide you through a tough learning curve? How much did it help? One unexpected benefit was mental clarity. Walter reported feeling more focused and energized. Scientific studies confirm that learning new skills later in life can improve brain function and even delay cognitive decline. Walter's approach was simple: one concept at a time, one small victory each day. I never rushed, he says. Learning slowly is still learning. Eventually, he created a personal project, a grandkids tracker website where he listed birthdays, favorite foods, and photo albums of his grandchildren. It may seem simple, Walter says, but building something useful for my family made it real. His story shows us that age doesn't determine ability, effort does. Whether you're 25 or 85, you can learn anything if you're patient, consistent, and passionate. So if you've ever thought, I'm too old to learn that, remember Walter. He didn't just learn to code. He rewired his brain and maybe his legacy. Part 3. Emotional benefits. How coding changed Walter's life. What happens when an 83-year-old man starts writing code? The obvious answer is technical skills, but the real transformation goes much deeper. Walter didn't just learn coding. He rediscovered himself. Before his programming journey, Walter described his retirement as quiet too quiet. He missed the sense of accomplishment. Each day felt like a blank page that I didn't know how to fill. He says, coding changed that. Suddenly, every line of code gave him something to work toward. Every error became a challenge to overcome. When I fix a bug, I feel like I've won a small battle, he says with a grin. The emotional impact was striking. Walter began waking up with purpose again. He would sit at his desk by the window, open his laptop, and get to work on whatever project was next. I felt like I was part of the modern world again, he says, not just an observer, but a contributor. Have you ever felt left behind by technology? What if you could not just catch up, but get ahead? His confidence grew. His conversations changed. Suddenly, he was explaining APIs and functions to his friends at the local cafe. They looked at me like I was a wizard, he laughs. And maybe I was. Walter even reported sleeping better and feeling more energetic. And this isn't just anecdotal. Research shows that engaging in cognitively demanding activities can reduce depression and increase emotional resilience in older adults. But perhaps the most touching impact was on Walter's sense of identity. He no longer introduced himself as retired. He started saying, I'm a hobbyist coder. And the pride in his voice? Unmistakable. He even started journaling his thoughts on aging and learning. In one entry, he wrote, coding reminds me that even at 83, I can still build, still grow, still surprise myself. Walter's story tells us that emotional health isn't just about avoiding loneliness. It's about finding something that sparks joy, something that challenges and validates us. Have you found your spark yet? His journey also inspired his circle. A friend named Martin, aged 79, began taking online photography courses. Another friend signed up for a digital painting class. Walter had unknowingly started a quiet revolution among his peers. And it's not just older men. His granddaughter Lisa, aged 14, now asks Walter to review her web design homework. It's a role reversal, she says. I used to teach him tech, now he mentors me. So yes, Walter gained technical skills, but more importantly, he regained meaning, connection, and joy. That's the real magic of coding after 80. It's not about building apps. It's about rebuilding confidence, one function at a time. If you are still watching this video and finding these insights valuable, please comment 3 below to let me know you are here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend you subscribe and turn on the bell icon, and you never miss the next videos. And also, your support inspired and motivated us to create more insightful contents. Because together, we're building a space for guidance, inspiration, and the strength to age with grace and purpose. Part 4. Family support and skepticism. What his loved ones said. When Walter first told his family he was going to learn coding, the reactions were mixed. Some laughed, some were confused, a few even worried. His daughter, Margaret, was the first to hear. Coding? Dad, are you serious? She asked, not out of disbelief but concern. I didn't want him to get frustrated. I thought it might be too much. His son-in-law, a software engineer, tried to talk him out of it gently. It's not that easy, he said. Even young people give up. It's frustrating, it's technical, and it changes fast. But Walter was calm. I don't expect to become the next Steve Jobs, he said. I just want to see how far I can go. Still, there was skepticism. At Sunday dinners, the family would chuckle when Walter pulled out his notebook full of handwritten notes, HTML tags, Python commands, JavaScript syntax. Is that your secret codebook? His grandson joked. But gradually, something shifted. Walter started showing them his small projects, a calculator app, a birthday reminder program, even a simple interactive family tree. He emailed me a digital birthday card. Coded from scratch, Margaret recalls. That's when I stopped doubting. Do you think your family would support you if you decided to learn something brand new today? His granddaughter Lisa became his biggest fan. He told me he used CSS to style a web page, and I was like, what? She laughs. Most kids my age can't even do that. The more progress Walter made, the more respect he earned. Now, family dinners often involve coding talks. Walter and Lisa exchange design ideas, while the son-in-law, once the biggest skeptic, offers pointers on debugging. And it's not just support, it's admiration. Margaret says, I look at him now and think he's not just my dad, he's a pioneer. His family even started sharing his story online. A short clip of Walter coding went viral on TikTok, gathering comments like, he's my hero, and this gives me hope for my grandpa. What began as a personal project had become something bigger, a shared inspiration. Walter's journey taught his family something, too, about perseverance, curiosity, and redefining what's possible. It shifted how they saw aging. Before, we thought retirement was about slowing down, Margaret says. Now, we see it as a chance to start fresh. And Walter? He's just getting started. The support they give me now feels like fuel. It keeps me going, he says. I may be 83, but I've never felt more alive. What would happen if we stopped seeing age as a barrier and started seeing it as a launch pad? Part 5. Interview with Walter. Why he did it and what he learned. Sitting across from Walter in his cozy study, we began our interview with a simple question. Why did you decide to learn coding at 83? Walter leaned back and smiled. I needed something that made me feel challenged again. Something that made me feel alive. He explained that retirement gave him time, but not direction. For a while, he tried hobbies, gardening, puzzles, and reading. They were fine, he said, but I wanted to create something. I wanted to solve problems, not just pass time. So, why coding? I read an article about an 85-year-old Japanese woman who learned to make mobile apps. That planted the seed. I figured, if she can, why not me? He started by searching coding for beginners on YouTube. The first tutorial confused the heck out of me, he laughed. But instead of quitting, I watched it again and again. Walter used free platforms like Khan Academy, Free Code Camp, and YouTube. He printed cheat sheets, made flashcards, and kept a learning diary. Every day, I learned one new thing, even if it was just how to center a div on a web page. What surprised him most? How patient I became, he said. I was never this patient when I was younger. He shared that coding taught him more than syntax. It taught him resilience, clarity, and even improved his memory. It's like my brain is getting exercise again. We asked, did you ever think of quitting? Many times, he admitted, but then I'd remember how good it felt to finally get something to work. That joy, worth every struggle. Walter's advice for others? Don't wait for the perfect time. Start messy. Start confused. Just start. He believes every senior should take up something new, especially something modern. It gives us relevance. It bridges the gap between us and the younger generation. And what did he learn about himself? That I still have a fire in me, Walter said, eyes twinkling. I'm not just here to fade away. I'm here to evolve. He concluded with a question for viewers. What would you try today if you knew you couldn't fail? Walter's journey is more than inspirational, it's instructional. It shows that learning is lifelong, growth is ageless, and motivation doesn't retire. So, if you're watching this and thinking, maybe I'm too old for that, think again. Walter proves that age is not the limit, it's the invitation. Part 6. Walter's Wisdom. Advice from an 83-year-old coder. When asked what advice he would give others his age, Walter didn't hesitate. Start small. Start curious. And never let the word old define what you're capable of. After months of trial and error, victories and setbacks, Walter has emerged not just as a self-taught coder, but as a wise elder with something powerful to share. So, what lessons has this 83-year-old digital explorer learned that others can take with them? First, Walter says, don't wait for permission to try something new. Too many seniors feel like trying something modern or complex is only for the young. Walter disagrees. The world doesn't belong to the youth, he says. It belongs to the brave, whether it's coding, painting, gardening, learning a new language, or writing poetry. There's no age limit on curiosity. Walter believes you have to feed your mind the way you feed your body, with nourishment and variety. Second, he stresses the power of consistency over intensity. You don't have to learn for 5 hours a day, he says, just 30 minutes. But do it every day, even on the bad days, especially on the bad days. It's the routine that builds momentum. And momentum, he says, makes the learning stick. Third, Walter reminds us, don't be afraid to look foolish. At first, he was embarrassed to ask his grandson what a tag or loop meant. But then I remembered how many people I trained as a mechanic. Nobody learned without asking dumb questions, he laughs. Do you remember the last time you asked a dumb question and learned something valuable? Walter encourages seniors to stop fearing embarrassment. Learning means messing up. Messing up means you're moving forward. Fourth, he urges seniors to use modern tools, but at their own pace. From text-to-speech software to magnifying tools, Walter adjusted his environment instead of fighting against it. He says the key is to make technology work for you, not the other way around. Finally, and most importantly, celebrate every small win. Walter kept a notebook where he wrote down every little success. First working button, first web page, first message in a forum. It kept me motivated when the big goals felt far away. That simple trick, recording victories, helped him realize just how far he'd come. So, dear listener, what would you try if you weren't afraid to fail? What skill, hobby, or challenge have you been putting off, thinking it's too late? Walter is living proof that it's never too late, that the mind can stretch, adapt, and thrive, even at 83. And perhaps the most beautiful part of all, Walter didn't just learn how to code. He taught his family, his community, and now the world what lifelong learning really means. So what about you? Will you take the first step? Because Walter believes in you, even if you don't. Yet, as we reach the end of Walter's remarkable journey, It's clear that his story is much more than just about learning to code at 83. It's about courage, curiosity, and defying the limits society often places on aging. From the very beginning, Walter faced doubts, not just from others, but from himself. Could an 83-year-old really master the complex language of computers? Yet, armed with determination, he embraced the challenge step by step. Starting with simple curiosity, through frustration and late-night debugging marathons, Walter persevered. His family watched, amazed as he turned every mistake into a learning opportunity. What does Walter's journey teach us? First, that the human brain remains capable of growth and change, even in our later years. Scientific research shows neuroplasticity doesn't have an expiration date, and Walter's story is living proof. Age isn't a full stop, it's a comma, inviting us to continue learning and evolving. Second, Walter reminds us how important it is to start small and be consistent. You don't have to tackle the whole mountain in one go. Just like Walter's daily 2-hour sessions, it's the small, steady steps that lead to lasting change. Third, Walter's story shows the power of community and support. From his grandson's patient explanations to online forums filled with learners from around the world, Walter never learned alone. He embraced help and shared his victories with others, inspiring many. Fourth, he teaches us not to fear failure or embarrassment. Walter admits he asked many silly questions and made plenty of mistakes. But those moments fueled his growth and confidence. Finally, Walter's advice to celebrate every small win, every functioning button, every solved bug, is a lesson we all can use. Success isn't only about the finish line, it's about appreciating progress along the way. Walter's family agrees. His journey changed their perspective on what's possible in later life. His grandson says, "Grandpa taught me patience and persistence." His daughter reflects, "He's proof you're never too old to dream." So now, as you reflect on this story, ask yourself, what's your Walter moment? What new challenge or passion have you been postponing, thinking it's too late? Is there a skill you've wanted to learn? A hobby you've longed to explore? Or simply a step toward curiosity and growth? Walter's story invites us all to believe in the power of lifelong learning, to rewrite our own stories and surprise ourselves. So here's my question to you. What small step can you take today? Maybe it's picking up a book, signing up for a class, or simply saying, "I'm willing to try." Because if Walter can learn coding at 83, so can you embrace your dreams, no matter your age. Thank you for joining us on this inspiring journey. If Walter's story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe to Elder Wisdom Table for more uplifting stories of courage and wisdom. Remember, growing older doesn't mean giving up. It means creating new chapters filled with possibility. Keep learning, keep growing, and never stop believing in the magic of second chances. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to subscribe to Elder Wisdom Table and click the bell icon so you never miss a tip designed to help you live well after 60. Share this video to you loved ones. Let me see what you learned from this episode in the comment, and share your story or experience someone may learn from your tip. And also, reading your valuable comment inspired and motivated us to create more insightful contents. Because together, we're building a space for guidance, inspiration, and the strength to age with grace and purpose. Get inspired, stay informed, and most of all, keep living wisely. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video.